Hi, I'm Renarta Clanton Moyd. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for the Cumberland County Schools and your host of Get Connected. Now, during this monthly show, we highlight numerous educational topics that face today's student, educator, and parent in the Cumberland County Schools. Now, recently, the school system announced its Teacher of the Year and Principal of the Year winners. Both were chosen because of their expertise as superb educators, and both are here to talk with me about their life's work and how they're impacting lives every day on this edition of Get Connected.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education? What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills.
The smarts?
Yes, you.
You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
I see it!
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Get Connected. We're talking with Cumberland County Schools 2017 Teacher of the Year, Mr. Todd McCabe from John Griffin Middle School, and the school system's 2017 Principal of the Year, Dr. Vernon Lowery from Westover High School. Vernon, Todd, welcome.
Thank you so much.
I am so glad you all are here on the show. I've heard you on radio, you've been dynamic, so I said, we gotta have them here to talk with us in person, right?
Right. Well, hopefully we'll do a good job.
Oh, you will. Now, has it sunken in yet that you're the Teacher of the Year, that you're the Principal of the Year?
Well, I thought it had until I showed up here today. in this type of event, it's a little overwhelming, but I'm excited to be here. My wife gave me good advice. She told me to just try to enjoy it and take advantage of the opportunity to perhaps, set forth my message on educational equity.
That's good. That is good. So to be present, in essence.
Yes.
Hey, that's a good thing. Has it sunken in for you yet, Vernon?
Not yet. Celebrity status is a little much for me. Not yet, but the students are pushing me into that. So hopefully within a few days it'll sink in.
Now, I noticed when you all won, I know I saw the marquee at your school, the announcement. I know your schools had big celebrations for you.
Yes, and they still have my name out on the sign. So,
okay.
The kids were very excited. I think they even got more excited than the teachers, perhaps.
Okay.
So the kids were great.
That's good. And I know I saw on Facebook, Vernon, I believe a clip that one of your staff members put there. I think the drum corps or something came out.
Right, our drum line, and they did a little dance. At first it was a little alarming. I'm getting ready to do a code red lockdown, but they came out and did a little dance, and they were excited, which made me a little more excited also.
That's good. Now, talk to us a little bit about your educational backgrounds.
Sure. I grew up in Rhode Island, which seemed like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah.
Immediately following high school, I went to college where I wanted to play football more than I wanted to pursue my academics. From there, I took a turn to the military, and then I graduated from Fayetteville State, right here.
Hey, go Broncos!
That's right. And it was great, what I learned there and being able to apply it right here in the local community.
That's good. That's all right. So you're one of our warriors, our veterans.
Yes, I am.
That's
That's two careers that I wanted to do in my life. One was serve my country as a military member, and the other one was to teach. So I've accomplished both of those professional goals, so I'm very pleased.
Now, something that I saw in your portfolio, Todd, is where your life started off where it was not necessarily, and you don't have to go into much detail, but
Sure.
just not necessarily that path that people would
Right.
think where you would end up where you are now.
Right, and this whole process of the Teacher of the Year has caused me to reflect on that. So it was actually, it was very good for me to do that. But yes, I grew up in a house very dysfunctional, like unfortunately many kids.
Right.
Education wasn't the priority. And it wasn't until a teacher who kind of took me under his wing and basically told me, despite how I started, that didn't need to be my outcome. And he mentored me even after he hadn't taught me that year. He continued to follow up on me and to see what I was doing. Another reason, though, that I chose teaching was my father was a military veteran, and once he passed when I was 5 years old, my sister had found a letter that he had written to family members during the Korean War, talking about how if he was fortunate enough to have kids someday himself, that he'd want them to know what it is to serve others for a greater need than your own. And both of those reasons probably pushed me to become not only a military veteran, but a teacher as well.
You know what? I really want to salute you right
Oh,
now.
thank you.
I tell you, that's commendable.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
We appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you.
We really do. Now, Vernon, your educational background, share with us that, and as well as your path.
I am a graduate from Cumberland County Schools, graduated from Cape Fear High School.
All right.
Had a very different upbringing, little dysfunction in our home also, and our family didn't necessarily know the importance of education. So I found this refuge in going to school. So I decided I was going to college. I graduated from Cape Fear at 16, then went to Methodist College, majored in microbiology, minor in chemistry.
All right, monarchs.
Knew I was going to medical school. But I knew that there was something that I had to do to help students before they got to that level. So I was a lateral entry teacher at 19 at Westover Middle, and stayed in the classroom, department chair, wanted to really lead. But I knew in order for me to impact change outside of my classroom, I had to do something different. I got a master's degree in high school biology, but then decided to go back and get my master's in school administration, and became an assistant principal at my high school, Cape Fear. And was able to impact change, and then completed my doctoral from Fayetteville State also.
All right, Broncos, that is awesome. And what I know is I was reading your portfolio and trying to figure out that timeline. I wasn't trying to figure out your age.
Thank you.
But just that timeline, I noticed you hit marks a little earlier than most. What was the motivation behind that?
Just an urgency. When you're a child and you've been denied so often, there's almost a fear that something might be taken quickly. So I did a lot of things in life very early. Educational wise, I was married early, because all those things that I didn't have as a child or that I didn't see, there was an urgency that I wanted to get it done because I didn't want it to be taken away. And so I completed quite a few things early. And now I'm in a position where I can really help kids, and they know that there's a possibility that they can do those things also.
That's good. And you know what I look at is both of you come from backgrounds where you, and I'm sure, can understand. You can understand, you know, to some degree it's a testimony. But then when you have young people that come to you and they're not from the cookie cutter type of households and those types of things, some people tend to, you know, may shun that child. Shouldn't do that.
Right.
But at least, you know, with you all knowing what you know how to come around. And I can see even through your portfolio, you all build connections with young people. They're not just a student here, a student there.
Right.
And to me, that's the most important thing you can do, is build those positive relationships. But to stress about Dr. Lowery as a leader, when I first became a teacher at lateral entry, I worked with Dr. Lowery, and she was a young woman, but you could just tell right then and there, and we exchanged emails a couple of weeks ago, and I told her that same thing. I just knew that she was destined for great things.
That's great, that's great. And that's what I was gonna say. I know one of our principals here in the county, Mr. Tommy Dent, sent an email to me after Vernon won, and said to me, you know, hey, did you know that both of them worked together with the 2000s? Well, it's the 2000s now, but I guess early 2000s, that you all worked together at one point. So I said, that's great. So you know one another well.
Right.
That's a good thing. That is a good thing. Now, as you went through the process, I think you mentioned that, Todd, it was very introspective. What did you all take from the process? And if you want, share with everyone the process that you went through as far as being chosen, for these distinguished honors?
Right. Well, the first process at the schools for teachers, you're elected by your peers as the Teacher of the Year representative. And then the county gives you the portfolio packet. And I found those questions very interesting because it did make me reflect on some things that I probably haven't even thought about for a very long time. Not the reasons necessarily why I became a teacher, but other influential decisions. But it's been a great process, sitting in front of a panel, answering questions, talking about the great things, not only that's happened in my classroom, our school, but I'm looking very forward to the regionals so I can talk about Cumberland County schools and some of the great things they're doing in regards to educational equity, which was my Teacher of the Year message.
That's good. And what should they know about educational equity?
It's been nearly 60 years since we've had civil rights legislation for education. And if you look at the achievement gap between our minority and our at-risk students, it's nearly narrowed. And if we continue the path that we're going, it's going to take another 200 years till it gets close. So people, they think when you're talking about equity that you're doing this, everyone's treated the same way. That's not what it is. It's giving everyone the equal opportunity to achieve those same results. And we have to look at our students and we have to ask ourselves, how can we close that gap?
Why is that such a passion of yours?
It started when I taught at Westover, and it was the very high level demographics, not only minority, but poor, the poverty level, and I just feel a need that it needs to be addressed. And many teachers that I've talked to in the county since then have all agreed with me. And Cumberland County Schools is doing great things about that as well. Under Dr. Till's leadership, they have leadership programs that the principals are a part of, looking at that data, sending teachers back to their home school and giving the teachers the tools they're going to need so that we can be successful.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. And what about you, Vernon?
Kind of the same process, Teacher of the Year, that we have as Principal of the Year also. Your peers are recognized, an interview, and then from there, there's a selection. And even speaking on the equity and the equality piece, I feel the same way. You see it from a leadership perspective, but mine is a little different because I've experienced it. So for you to be able to experience being a have-not is something that we really have to address. Our county's doing an awesome job, but we have to get it to the national level. And we have to make sure that our teachers understand that they have this awesome role where they can either impact students positively or sometimes, in some cases, unfortunately, negatively. And that was my case, where you have an educator as a child to tell you what you can't do. And so often our students experience that. And as a leader, we want to make sure that we're in that position, that we impact awesome change and make sure students know that it doesn't matter where you came from, you can always do better. You can always go to that next level.
It's not where you come from, it's where you're going.
Right, and I believe it's going to take more than just the teachers as well, and I know you probably agree with that. It's an old military reference of circled the wagons. I equate education to like the pioneers of the Old West. Everyone had to fight for their future. We need to involve the parents, the communities, the churches, everyone, so that we can make sure that any injustices that have been done don't keep occurring.
Great point. You know what? Let's take a break really quickly, okay? And we'll come back. Okay. All right? Don't go anywhere. Stick around for more Get Connected.
From this angle, it all makes a star.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore.
Show up
and frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible.
And then we're going to turn the lights and everybody look up.
I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought.
What's your reaction gonna be? Yeah, exactly.
And unconventional methods.
Okay, what else?
Common.
This is their world.
There's nothing.
And then they die. Go ahead, go, go, go.
I'm a teacher. I make more.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Get Connected. Our guest, our Cumberland County Schools 2017 Teacher of the Year, Mr. Todd McCabe from John Griffin Middle School, and the school system's 2017 Principal of the Year, Dr. Vernon Lowery from Westover High School. And we're talking about their life's work and what they're doing to make a difference in the lives of our children. Now, very interesting conversation before we went to the break about equity in our schools. And I know that each of you, once again, going back to the portfolio, that was some really good reading. Maybe we need to publish that so everybody can see. But I know that one thing that stood out to me, Todd, in your portfolio was the fact that you were talking about you try to have your classes where the young people get involved with community service types of things like Wounded Warrior Project. And
that's very important to me. We have two other programs that I'm incredibly proud of, and they're student-led. I act as the advisor, but the kids really take the ball and run with it. Mm-hmm. One is Alyssa's Helpers, which was named after a former student of mine who passed away too young, beautiful, spirited child. But these kids go into our autistic room that is basically self-contained, and they mentor these kids, and they act as leaders, and they facilitate instruction with their lead teacher. And the connection they make with those kids, it's just amazing. You really need to come see it for yourself. Another one that we do that I'm very proud of is Pirate to Pirate. Mm-hmm. 8th grade students, we go to the feeding elementary schools who feed into our middle school, and they teach transitioning classes to those upcoming 6th graders. Because coming into middle school, they're petrified. And the upcoming 6th graders and these 8th graders, they both get something out of this. The 8th graders, they learn that helping others, showing compassion, and being understanding is a great human trait to have.
Impactful. Now, you know what I forgot to ask you. You teach
social studies.
So that's good. Those types of things.
It all ties in together with history. It sure does.
Exactly. Now, Vernon, I noticed from your work that when you were there at Alger B. Wilkins, because you were there, you've been at Westover for a couple of months now.
Right.
But prior to that, you were at Alger B. Wilkins High School with that somewhat non-traditional student. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned that you oftentimes tried to help our young people give back to the community.
Right. So often I've noticed, especially on a high school level, that students don't make a connection to the curriculum. They don't feel like it's something that they can utilize later. So a lot of them are caught up in averages or simply getting credit. So we really wanted to make sure they understood in order for them to become productive citizens, they have to give back. So we did the same thing. We took our students to the elementary school, and they mentored elementary students who have already been identified as at risk. That was a learning tool for our students to notice certain behaviors that aren't acceptable, and also gave them an opportunity to give back. On Thanksgiving, Christmas, we fed at Alger B. Wilkins to make sure they understood how education can change their life. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they have to see that to understand, even though we teach that in the curriculum, but when it's real life, they really make that connection better.
That's good. Now, with you being over in Wolverine country, I know that you probably have kind of thought about ways to implement. What are you thinking now?
We've started our teacher cadet program for our students who also want to give back, and they'll pair up with the middle school and also elementary school. So we're training them now how to be leaders, and then within the next few weeks they'll transition over and actually go into the classroom. So they're excited about that.
That's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. And I've heard word that they love you out there.
I love them too.
Yeah.
I do.
I've heard word that they love you, and I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that. Well, you know, my mind goes back to, I mean, you all are such wonderful educators now, but I'm sure things may have been a little bumpy starting out the gate.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Can you go back in your mind your first day as a teacher?
I'll never forget it. It was not a typical day at all. I came in lateral entry. I came in 2 days before winter break at middle school. So you know how middle schoolers are with breaks, and I consider them hormones, you know, with legs. But it was chaos in the room due to the fact that the kids didn't have a social studies teacher. They had a sub here and there. They couldn't fill it. So it was a challenge. And when I first became a teacher, I thought you're going to go in there, it's going to be your way or the highway, and that's not how it works.
No.
That's not how it works. So I learned from people like Dr. Lowery and others at Westover, Jovan Jones, who works for Cumberland County.
Yes.
She was amazing. That those relationships are the most important things. If kids know that you care, and they know that you care deeply, they will do anything for you. They really will. So, but that was a very long first half year, but I made it through, thank goodness.
That's good. And you're still here.
Yes.
That's good. You've been, how long have you been a teacher?
Going on 16 years now.
16, wow. Yeah, that's great. Now with you, Vernon, your first day as a principal, was it smooth sailing?
No.
Okay.
Same thought process. I'm the principal now, so they're going to listen. No. So you have to build relationships, let kids know that you care. I often say, when I'm speaking with my assistant principals, the easy route is to give a consequence. But when you sit down and listen and kids know that you care, they'll do anything. They'll go in class and they'll give everything that they have in order to please you. But that first, I won't say first day, first maybe year, was a culture shock. But after recovering, it's something I wouldn't trade for anything.
And you mentioned the rewards and the good things, and I believe that you really, more vibrantly, you have to tell kids they're doing the right thing than you do the negative. It sticks with them a lot longer. They see all the negative on a daily basis. Just turn on the news. They need to be reminded of the good in them.
That is so true, because you hear, they're going to get the negative, right? They're going to see that. Now, I noticed when you said that, I could see a slight spark in your eye. What excites you about education, Todd?
It's the students. Every day, the students to see, especially with history, because we can talk about so many things that are going on in the world, but to see some kids who may come to me closed-minded, but after they spend a year with me, they're kind of looking at the world through different lenses, and I think that's important. We need to embrace each other as the human race. We have to accept each other's differences. And not necessarily understand them or agree with them, but respect each other. And that's the whole key. It really is.
Excellent point. Okay.
And then just that possibility for change. Just knowing that what you do, every day you get up and you give everything that you have, there's something inside of you that say that I might not see this large amount of change, but just a little bit. And that's what keeps you coming back. Keeps you giving back to children and loving on kids, because at some point I'm going to see some change. Might not be immediate. It might not be on this final exam or this end of course test, but I know I'm going to see change.
Some type of change.
Right.
Now, when you have those especially challenging days, those difficult days, what keeps you coming back? What helps you recharge so you can come back?
Well, you need to reflect on your successes for sure, but one way to prevent those challenging days, especially in the classroom, is to have procedures for everything. The kids need to know what the standards are, how to meet them, and if you do that, you eliminate a lot of your problems in the classroom. You really do. And once again, I hate to beat the horse, but it's about those relationships. You will alleviate many problems in your classroom if you have a positive relationship with your students.
Excellent point. And have you found that you have difficult days, Vernon?
I do. More so, I think I carry my children a lot. So when the day is over, I'm constantly thinking about them. My mind is constantly moving. Did I handle this the correct way? And of course, every decision and everything that we do, we don't want to lose children. So that's the tough thing when you're constantly thinking on it. And as an educator, in order for you to reflect and rejuvenate, you have to make sure that you know how to let go. So at some point, when it's time to transition and be mom or student, or I tell my teachers and APs, you have to break and rejuvenate. So when you come back the next day, you're ready to give 100% again.
Yeah, because I could see how that, could wear you down. It could really wear you down, especially if you're that type of individual who, you're concerned about everyone and making sure everyone is doing what they need to do. And then you carry that with you home.
Right.
That can filter into your home life as well.
Sure.
Now, how do you feel about the challenges that we're facing in education today? What are some of the challenges? Because I'm sure that was a question that was asked during your interview.
Sure. One, I think right now is the teacher turnover. Most teachers who are starting this year, their very first year, in 5 years, 50% of those will no longer be teaching. And I think the way to fix that is the teacher programs in many of the colleges need to be preparing those teachers for the rigors of education. I think that's important. And the second, or the most important trend is that educational equity. That is the most important issue, and I'm going to continue talking about it long after the Teacher of the Year events are over.
Right.
We really have to come together as a society. We really do. And it's not, we're not going to see change, effective change, until even the people who aren't affected by educational equity are outraged by it just as much as the ones who are.
Excellent point. Can you think of anything, Vernon, that sticks in your mind as far as challenges facing our educators today?
Well, you know, from a teacher perspective, I think there's a thought process that teachers have to do more with less.
Yeah.
So you come in and you have quality teachers, but they don't have all the resources that they might need. So that's always a challenge. So from a leadership perspective, you know, you're constantly trying to build this culture of encouragement. When you know, sometimes step away and see that it could be not as encouraging. So you have to have that leader in there that is that cheerleader. Todd Whitaker said it best, you know, if the principal sneezes, the whole school catches a cold. So you have to make sure as the leader that you set that stage and let teachers know, I understand, I know what you're dealing with, but we're still going to get our kids to that level. So just really pushing.
That's good. And you know what, I think we may have just a brief moment. Any last words, really quickly?
Well, I'm honored to be the representative for Cumberland County Schools, and I hope I do everyone proud. I'm looking forward to being able to share everything that's going on with Cumberland County Schools, and some of the things that Dr. Lowery mentioned today, I'll make sure I bring into my interviews.
All right, that's all right.
And I echo the same. I'm extremely excited. I said when I spoke, when I was announced, I've not gotten over the fact that I was selected as a teacher, much less an AP or a principal. So it's very exciting. Cumberland County Schools is doing awesome things, and I'm excited to be able to share that with everybody else.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that both of you were here to share what you had in your minds with us.
Well, thank you.
For
really appreciate it. And I wish you both the very best.
Thank you.
Oh, you're going to bring us the state and national honors. I mean, that's without a doubt, right?
Hopefully.
Okay. Okay, well, on behalf of the Cumberland County School System, we want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of our show and for giving us a chance to help you get connected. Until next time.